Come to you, Yogendra ji, first, and then I'll come to the BJP and Congress politicians, because you've gone ahead and tweeted saying you're not surprised that the figures have been revised upwards by about 4 to 6%. That happens. You're surprised that the official data was put up so late. Now, you may have heard Mr. Gopal Sami saying, look, the data was always there on our website or the EC's website. This is much ado about nothing.
Rajdeep, let me begin by saying where I agree with Mr. Gopalaswamy. Number one, yes, we have very good systems in place, and changing, fudging election turnout figure is not easy. There is Form 17C, which is a final guarantee. And yes, therefore, I would not assume that despite the delay and all those things, while there are very serious questions, I would not assume that a fraud has taken place. And an increase of 6%, while it needs to be explained, we should not jump to the conclusion that elections have already been manipulated. Having said this, I must point out that what we have seen is an extraordinary deviation from the standard norm. Rajdeep, I have been watching elections since 1989 for 35 years. Even in those days when there was no computer, these votes were tallied, and within 24 hours, I repeat, even in the days without computer, within 24 hours, Election Commission used to give the date, final data, and it was called final data. Election Commission would say in which constituency, how many electorate in exact number, and how many of them polled, men and women. All this data was always given. And it is for the first time that the data was not released. Instead, what we had was a voting app. The app kept changing the figures. Rajdeep, my team tracked it. The figures were changed even after 48 hours. It's only after 72 hours or so that figures somewhat stabilized. And even then, the Election Commission did not change the did not release the exact data. So there are three major deviations from past practice, which has led to very legitimate concerns. Number one, instead of an official release within 24 hours, we had an app which kept changing for a very long time. Number two, that the official data was given after 11 days. You are absolutely right. And if Mr. Gopalaswamy believes that it was always there on the computer, I think these are things which can be easily checked. I'm not saying he's lying, but these things are so easy to check these days on computer. When was the data loaded on the web? And number three, that even when the final data has been released yesterday after adverse media reports, even today, even now, I do not know the exact number of votes polled in each constituency. What I have is percentage figure. And when the numbers are in millions, percentage figures do allow for manipulation of a few hundred votes.
But so let's be very clear. There is no evidence yet of manipulation at any level. So that's a conspiracy theory. But you're worried about the secrecy and the lack of transparency. Am I correct?
Yes, Rajdeep. I began by saying that I do not assume that fudging, fraud, or manipulation has taken place. But in order to ensure in our country, there have been very high standards of transparency. And one of those high standards of transparency have indeed been broken. I do not think Election Commission is playing foul, but it has demonstrated, sadly, a bit of incompetence and an attempt to hide. It has, and I'm saying it very carefully, and I know why I'm saying so. There is an attempt of secrecy because Election Commission was caught in a discrepancy in 2019. Election Commission fears that the same discrepancy might come up again, and therefore, instead of correcting the actual figures, correcting the situation, they have resorted to this cover-up. This is unnecessary in the current situation when there are so many serious questions about Election Commission. It is entirely avoidable, this particular bit, and I'm really hoping Election Commission would come clean, would give the exact figure in terms of Hazar, Sankara number, every number, and that from next phase onwards, we would start getting official report, not after 11 days, but after 24 hours, as it used to be the case.
Okay, let me leave it.